Hey guys, let me know if everything is okay. I'm not sure if this is working. This new version of OBS is a bit confusing to me in terms of how it starts streaming. It doesn't actually say anything in terms of how many people are on it, or but I think it is working now though. Yeah, yeah, I think it's working. Hey guys, thanks for joining. Right. Let me just have a look. Get my bearings a little bit. So, can you guys hear me all right? Is this going okay? Let me know if you can hear me okay and if you can see me all right. Okay, that's good. That's good that the volume is good. Right, so what I wanted to live stream today, I wanted to live stream about skyboxes. I've made some videos before about how I generate them and what I do. I just wanted to create one skybox today and just show you guys what how that is being created, and then you can sort of use that information to create your own, and the sky is the limit, as they say. So I'm on my ArtStation page right now, and I just wanted to show you guys an example. This is a skybox sort of texture in here. You can see it's got stars everywhere, and then it's got these elements in the center in here, which will then wrap around the scene. Now, very important to understand is that so let me just open another scene in here just so I can show you this. Very important to understand is that the skybox in my case is on a sphere, so it's being wrapped around a sphere, which means the poles. So if you look at this planet here, imagine this is the pole and that's another pole there. The texture is pretty much shown on this sphere here. The poles are where the texture needs to be stretched in order to properly be conveyed. So this is an important thing to take note. And as you can see on this star field right here at the top and at the bottom, it's actually stretched. Now, what I do personally, I sort of tend to stay away from taking my textures in the center and put them towards the top, especially if I can stretch them. Now, a method to stretch this sort of stuff is to use something like it's like I think in Adobe After Effects there is something that you can do, but that's obviously a paid method. Another way, you could use Blender to then switch over to cycles and use an equirectangular camera. So I'm just going to show you an example. So this is a texture made in Blender, but it's using Eevee, and it's effectively stitching multiple textures, but you can see these seams forming across. No, I don't do live streams on Twitch as of yet. I don't know. I've not, to be honest, I've not looked enough into that. I'm just gonna see how this goes on YouTube for now. But yeah, thanks for asking. So this is something that's been generated with one of the Nebula generators that I've got on my ArtStation page as a product for sale. And the seams that you're seeing are caused because Eevee doesn't properly read light as cycles would. Hi Victor, thank you for joining. So those seams you'd have to manually sort of fix. Somebody in the comment section of that video where I show how I created this in a previous video has given me some ideas of how to fix it, and I'm going to try those out. But for now, you could go in Photoshop and just clean this up so those seams are no longer visible. But effectively, what should be ending on the left side would be starting on the right side, so it's a seamless transition from top to bottom and left to right. Now, another example that I've got here is this one, again made in Eevee. And you can this has got less seams, but you can see where the light sort of doesn't properly switch from one sort of frame to the next, because this is stitched from multiple textures. It's like a cube map. That's why it's called a cube map, as it's using cube faces to create this. In a Blender sort of scene that I've got here, this is a Nebula generator. It's using, again, this is available on the store if you guys want to have a look. This is using a tile size of 8 pixels for the volumetrics. If I switch this over to 2, the performance will tank. Or better than Eevee. Than Blender. Yeah, well, yeah, I would say it's better. It's definitely more advanced than Eevee in that field. But in Unreal Engine, if you try to do the same thing to create a skybox like this, you'd still get those seams. I've tried it before, and again, you have to do a bit of cleanup as well in there. I think all real-time game engines do this. Something like I guess Cycles doesn't do it. So offline renders wouldn't have this problem. Now switching this over to 4 pixels, you can see a better image there, and this is a nebula, and I can generate it through Blender Eevee in this particular case. So as you can see here, I'm just using 25% of the resolution. It's got Eevee, and if I press render image, this should come out rather quickly. I think the performance is starting to tank a little bit, but let's just see what comes out of this render. Oh, I think it's done it. So you can see it's created it. It's obviously you need to tweak the settings because it's a bit over bright, but this is it's generated some some shapes. Obviously playing around with the settings you'll get far better, and obviously you'd want to go for the the pixels over here where it said where was it now, where it said tile size 4 pixels, you want to put that at 2 pixels just to get a better resolution, and then you'd play around with the lights to get more shapes. And that's how I generated things like this, and they look pretty cool. Again, resolution is key here, and if you do it in cycles, it could take you 10 hours to render something at 16K, maybe even more, depending on your rig. If you use Eevee, it will take you probably less than 10 minutes to do one, but then you have to deal with the seams all across. My method of doing things like this one in here takes a few minutes at most to generate all of this stuff, and then a bit more Photoshop editing to get the final result. And the method that I use is Midjourney AI, which I know there's obviously a lot of people on the fence about AI and generated images and intellectual property and so on. I'm just going to say this. For me, this is a tool and I'm using it. I don't know if I'm going to be using it in the future. I don't know how it's going to evolve. I think people being scared of this man-made tool that is obviously using information that's generated by users, I don't think people should feel threatened by this. I have yet to see it create something that's truly as spectacular as something generated by somebody with with the experience of years dedicated to the work. I don't think people run out of jobs or anything like that because of this. I mean, the camera has not replaced artists who paint or draw or you know what I mean. It's insane to think that this would be the case. But anyway, so yeah, I use Midjourney, and the reason why I'm using Midjourney is because it gives me 2K resolution images in a couple of seconds, and then I have to do the actual work of stitching it together. So I will show you what I've done it. This is an example. It's a Photoshop file, and you can see in here there's loads of images, so loads of little textures in here that are put together. So if I can, I drag them around, they're just elements. Each of them is just an element into their blended together. And they're all blended together in such a way that they sort of, they're cohesive. Now, a very impressive thing about Midjourney is that you can create collections, let's say, of items if you're careful of how you do it. So when you start a prompt, make sure that you're using the same prompt over and over again with different sort of variations, create variations of those prompts, try and do different colors and so on. But the first base prompt that you've generated, if you're happy with that, you just build on top of that. So it gives you things that are closely matching. So then you can create something like this that won't look odd or out of place. And also for this, just that's for me to use in Blender and Unreal Engine for the Skybox for the finished product. I also generate an alpha map, something like this, which effectively the alpha map is just the texture that I generated. So it's just this texture that's in the background. I then use a black and white filter on top, a mask, and then I invert it like that, just because I want to, well, actually, yeah, if you invert it this way, it's not right. So what I do is I invert it this way. So I create everything that's black becomes white, everything that's white becomes black. And then I invert it again just so I can get something like this. But this invert here, I believe I painted. Yeah, I painted on it. So I paint with black and white on it. So where we have white, in this context, in the Skybox project that I offered on my platform, where we have the white showing up in the alpha, things like background items such as stars, so stars being a separate texture, don't show up. Obviously, it's on a 1 to 0 type of clamp as between 0 to 1. So at 0, it will not show up. At 1, it will start showing up. Or maybe is that the other way around? I'm not sure. But wherever we have black, the stars will be visible. So this particular texture here, this finished product that I've got on ArtStation, the original sort of image only had these elements that are color, and the stars weren't there. But I comped in the stars using that alpha, so the stars are only showing up wherever I want them to show up and not everywhere. So this is very important because it gives you a lot of flexibility. Now, sorry, I didn't want to do that. So these elements, the resolution on them, I can get pretty close and they still look good. A very important thing about resolution is that it really makes or breaks a skybox. So I'll show you what I mean in just a second. Let me just go. I'm going on Unreal Engine Marketplace, and I will open a project from somebody who's got this on. Let me just open it. Opening, or yeah, it doesn't seem to be. Oh, there we go. Right. So I am going to search for Skybox, and there's these Skybox bundle from Valarian. Now, if you click these, they're pretty good looking. I like them. I don't know if anybody owns these or not, but if you actually open them and start looking through, you'll realize that they're just 4K or 8K textures. Now, these might look okay when you're on the ground, like in this scene here. But when you're in space, you're flying with a spaceship and have planets and so on, the texture really starts to show, if it's 4K or 8K. So normally I make my textures at either 12K or 16K. And the Midjourney prompts. So if you look at this one here, for example, I believe this is a finished one. I posted this on Discord a while back for when Christmas came in. So if I open this in a browser, and you can have a look in here how this looks like. If I save it, just save it where I'm. Yeah, so I'm just gonna put it in here in this folder. So if I Alt double click it and look in the details, you'll notice a 2K image. That's not gonna be good enough for what we're trying to do. I mean, for one, I am scaling all these images down, so all these elements are scaled down, but their resolution is not 2K. It's actually a lot higher, because if they were 2K, you wouldn't be able to get this close to them and still make out what they are. They would be quite blurry. So if I, bring this texture in here, you can see how blurry that is. So even if I make it quite small, maybe to this scale, and then zoom in, it around this point, you can see it starts to really get very pixelated. Actually, let me just try and draw on it as well, turn it, so it's no longer a smart object. It starts to get really pixelated. So what I'm doing effectively is I'm always driving the resolution up. And the way I do this is I use a software called Gigapixel. And in Gigapixel, it's just quite cheap actually for what it does. You can drag any image, and you see in here how much detail it's adding based on what the output will be. So if I make it 4 times the size, I will be getting an 8K resolution of this, and you can see the detail that it's adding in there. So that's really important. You can do this with Photoshop as well, but not nearly as good. Photoshop has, I mean, it does use AI. It has been using AI for years now, or machine learning, or whatever you want to call it, to do things like your brushes and to be able to upscale and downscale images and so on. So again, the argument of AI, everybody I think has been using AI for quite a while. Those digital artists that keep going on about how AI is going to take their jobs, they have been using machine learning and stuff like that in Photoshop to be able to produce the images they're doing anyway. So if they really want to create something that's not like that, then just use a paintbrush, physical, So you can see in here the difference, and I can even go higher. I can go 6, and the AI mode in here sort of decides how this will be done. So you've got 4 different modes. I find the compressed one to be the best one to be used, so that's why I use for this. Now, one important thing about scaling up and down is that it obviously generates very large images, and you have to have the space, the RAM, the GPU to handle very high resolution images. And the reason why I'm saying that is because once you start exporting this stuff and bringing it into Photoshop, you will have loads of images that you're then trying to cut down. So if I open, let me just show you an original one. So this is an original, just bring it at the top. This is an original image generated by Midjourney right here. Okay, so this is what I started with, and this is a very large image. Now imagine I have maybe 20 of these images generated from Midjourney in here. So what I would do then is I generally create a copy of it, and then with the copy created, I create a mask, and then with the mask, I can then paint in and out. So obviously, I'll use a pen, a stylus, and a tablet, a cheap one, I don't know, £30 or something like that, $30 or something like that. So then I'll go in here and start painting away the elements that I want and the elements that I don't want. So switching from black to white allows me to sort of do this. I can just paint away. I can also use a pen or, well, not the pen, the lasso tool and stuff like that to be able to just eliminate some elements from it. So that's kind of it in terms of creating, compositing those images. Now, there are some people on our station who make some really fantastic skyboxes. So let me just see if I can find one of those. So I think just typing in Nebula Skybox, hopefully that will bring me. Yeah, okay. So look, this stuff made by Tim Barton. Really good stuff, really fantastic stuff. Look at the skyboxes that this guy generates, and he uses Blender. He uses Blender cycles for this. Now, what he does, it's a technique called layering. So he actually, I'm not sure if he writes it somewhere in here or how he does it, but effectively he takes. Oh, sorry, Cinnabon, you've asked something. Are you using straight up brush or color replacement brush? I'm using just a brush. I'm just using a black, just a normal soft brush, and it's just between black and white for a mask, so I can mask out what I don't want to see. Because if you really think about, sorry, let me just go back to Photoshop. If you really think about it from here, I could take this element. Sorry, I'm drawing this wrong. I could take this element from here. And then I could also take this element from here, separate these or create two different elements from that. But then I could also take this part from here and take this part from here and combine them in such a way that it generates new shapes, new features. So from Discord, from Midjourney, I will generate maybe 25, 30 images, put them together in Photoshop, and then start taking elements from them apart multiple times and combine them in different ways to create different variations, different shapes, thus giving me a couple of skyboxes. Now, Victor has made an impressive render for the what was it called now? That Kit Bash Kit Bash Minerva project. So he used some skyboxes in there. Now with this sort of technique, he could, the sky is the limit really to how many different variations he could have done of that. And you can also create skyboxes with different sun layers and so on. Now back to Tim here, which I do recommend you guys go and have a look at his work. He's got some really impressive YouTube renders out there as well, where he just puts he just shows you videos of time lapses of these nebulas. So what he does is he layers multiple different renders on top of each other. So he generates multiple frames and layers them, so it creates that depth. So don't even think that his first render that you're seeing right here looks like this straight out of the bat from Blender. It doesn't. It's probably just got one slice of this. It probably has the background element, something that's in the far back, and then he brings another slice, and then another one, and just adds multiple elements with, obviously, it's got alphas, so you can see through them. So they've got a transparency to them. And he just layers maybe about 20 of these together until he gets the final very good looking product, okay? But in cycles, to create something like this, it will probably take him, I don't know, as I said, 20, 30 hours. I think he made a video of 2 minutes, and it took him about 4 months of rendering to be able to get all of it. So it's insane how much you can put into it. My method is obviously a lot faster. So, because I'm getting this, but it's a bit of an uncontrolled event, what I'm doing, because I never know what I'm going to get. Now, if we go back into Midjourney, I'm trying to find it. Where is it now? Discord. Yep, got it. So I'm just going to talk to the bot, and I'm going to imagine prompt something. Now, for people out there who don't have Midjourney and aren't planning on getting Midjourney at all, that's fine. I mean, it's $10 for 250 images a month, or $30 for an infinite amount of images, I would say. If you're not planning on doing that, you can have a look at my nebula generator from Blender. Just message me on Discord, and I'll give you my version of that. I'll just give you that for free. That's fine. Anybody who's interested in that, just message me on Discord, and I'll send it to you. So you can use that to generate images. So I'm just gonna type in here cosmic nebula. Combustion in space, volumetric, gas clouds, blue explosion, red nova, something like that, okay? And now I'm just going to put in here 8K render, hyper realistic, and maybe octane render. And then I'm just gonna add at the end so aspect ratio AR, and I'm going to do 21 by actually 9 by 21, and let's see what happens. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna copy this prompt because I don't know if it's gonna give an error or not. I'm just gonna press enter. So it does give an error, and that's because it really depends on what sort of version I'm using. So let me just go into settings. So yeah, MJ version 4 isn't currently supporting things like aspect ratio because it's still in beta. So I'm just going to use MJ3. I'm going to make sure it's very high quality, stylize low, maybe something like that. And I'm going to paste these options again and press enter. Oh, stylize must be between, okay, style medium then. That should be okay. Why is it still doing that? It must be between 625. I haven't really mentioned anything about stylizations, so okay. Let me just try with that. No, keeps giving me an error. Let me just dismiss these messages. This is awkward. So MJ version 3, let's just try with base quality and style medium. I'm not really saying anything about the okay, fine. I'll write at the end stylize 625. Okay, now it's working. So that's fine. No. It's got nothing to do. I mean, the beta upscale, it just sort of allows you to. I think you're able to, if you have this clicked, you're able to choose between what sort of upscaling you want to use. Let me just try with a high quality as well. Same. Oh, gotta add the stylize again. Keep forgetting about that. So I'm going to put that in there. And then also, I'm going to change from MJ version 3 to MJ test photo. I believe I need to be on base quality. And let's try. This will not be... Okay, so the stylized needs to be 1250. I'm trying to not get a stylized version of this. I don't want it to look like a cartoon. So we're at 62% here. You're seeing you can see what it's generating so far. We'll see what this version is going to bring up, which has got a higher quality. And then this version, which is the test version, is going to bring something up as well. I found that the MJ test is actually quite bad on creating things like nebulas or space environments in general, while MJ3, Midjourney 3, is actually quite good at this. So we'll see what we're going to get. This is so far what we've got at 93%. Okay, now that's finished. So, okay, so I'm gonna let you guys choose. Which one do you want us to upscale? All of them, or just one of them? The way this works, obviously, it's U1, 2, 3, 4, and then these are just variations of that. So let me see what comes out of this version. It's got a bit more blur by the looks of it. So number 3. Okay, let's try with that. Yeah, everybody wants number 3. To be honest, it is interesting. It looked more like an explosion than anything, but let's see. I went for this sort of aspect ratio because I like when Midjourney is trying to push things into a direction. If you do a square, it will just sort of keep it looping on itself. Yeah, I don't think the MJ test version did a good job, but I'm gonna try and upscale it anyway, see what the final part looks like. Okay, have we got anything else finished? This is a 94. Seems to be a bit slow today, so I'm not sure why that is. It doesn't matter how many jobs you put on it, by the way, in the sense of it won't slow it down just because you're putting a lot more jobs. I think only if you're working and relaxed, it will do this. Okay, so it finished this one, which was a lot higher quality. Well, it was double the quality. You guys want to do any of these? You just open them in a browser. Yeah, I don't know, they're a bit rougher, aren't they? The blur doesn't really help a lot. This is the one that we've upscaled. Generally, I don't like it's having any stars in it. So one thing about upscaling in gigapixel is that it doesn't play very nice with dots. You might want to stay away from that. Think about an upscaler and how it works. If you're trying to add sharpen or upscale something that's looking fuzzy and let's say a bit ethereal or ghostly, then it won't sharpen or upscale very good because it will, but it's not going to have anything specific to show because there's no edge, right? But If you're upscaling something that's got an edge, a clear edge, like a dot, then it will just sort of make it pop out a lot more, so it's not going to look that good. But okay, we'll do number 3 in here as well. So we've got this element, and I believe we can no longer upscale this, but we can make variations of it. We might click that button, and we can also do a remaster to see how that sort of looks like. And we're gonna get some more. Now this is just not looking good, unfortunately. Let's just wait for that element to keep coming up. We're now getting a new version. This is the... Which one is this? This is the test. This is the MJ test. Maybe this one will look a lot better. This is the... okay, let me just see. This is now going to be finished. So now... Okay, not 100%. Come on, Midjourney. Okay, so we've got a few more versions in here. Now, because it's a variation of the same one, it's obviously not going to have, it's not going to be very much different. But this helps us because we can create more elements from here. We can upscale from here into new elements. This one looks interesting now from the MJ test. Let's just upscale this as well. This is the one that we previously did. Yeah, looks pretty good. So I'm going to leave it like that. From here, we'll upscale number 3 again and upscale number 2 as well, just so we can get a few more items in. Now, let's start with this one. So I've got it open in the browser. I can save it. Let me just delete that Christmas tree from there and save it in here. Okay. Now, this one I'm waiting for it to come out. This one is the one that we've had before, and I'm going to save it. I'm just going to go in Photoshop in here. I've got a new sort of project open. Oh, I'm not sure, to be honest, but yeah, that would be to be added, yeah, instead of the octane render, to use something else. I mean, I can show you guys what I've done in the past. Let me just generate my profile. By the way, you'll probably be seeing some cats and other stuff in there as well, because my wife has been using it to do some experiments. So let me just sign in. And I'll show you what sort of results I've had. Yeah, Victor, honestly, Gigapixel is just out of this world, man. Honestly, yeah. Another thing that you can use it for, it's not just Topaz Labs. Yeah, it's I think it's a one-time payment. I had it on a sale. I paid like $50 for it. Just bear in mind, just get the Gigapixel AI thingy. Don't get something else, because everything else in there, the other products, I'm not sure about the video one, but the other ones about images, the Gigapixel upscaler does it all. What the other products do, Gigapixel already does it and better. So don't buy into they just basically took the same product and they just hashed it into multiple parts. Right, so these are the sort of things, these are the sort of prompts that I've used in the past. Again, you can see the prompts. You can actually go on my profile. So it is Arganian. You can search for my profile on the Midjourney community feed, and you can find all the prompts that I've had. So again, ignore the animals. Look, pillars of creation there. Yeah. So because we're now rushing it a bit in generating prompts, obviously it takes time to get the right one. But look at that there as well. And Victor, what I would suggest to you is use Topaz and upscale your textures for Unreal. Honestly, it makes a hell of a difference. And you can create tile textures as well. in Midjourney. So when you type in here, oh yeah, we have another texture. When you type in here the prompt, you can add dash dash tile to it, which will then make the texture seamless in every direction. Just be careful; it only works in squares. It doesn't work with other shapes. So you have to have the aspect ratio has to be a square, and it only works in Midjourney 1, 2, and 3. It doesn't work in any other so far. But I think the tile thingy is going to be revolutionary for people trying to create textures. So you can see some of my renders in here. I really like these ones. They're really cool, and these are sort of volumetrics in the style of H.R. Geiger. This is a tile one. So this is when I tried to tile some of this stuff. It looks odd. The logo here is made with Midjourney. You can see that there, sort of thing. And just be careful, Midjourney can't write. I said, yeah, they can't write text. It will take you ages to generate something that looks remotely as the text that you're trying to look. And it does food as well. So, if you ever want a piece of lasagna that looks oddly good, but not at the same time, I don't know. It's weird. But yeah, there's loads of things in here, loads of things. So these are the sort of stuff that I generated. Right, okay, enough of that. So let's go. We've saved 2 images, and I have a Photoshop image. Well, definitely, coffee, man. Honestly, I am out of coffee. Actually, I can't. I need to get some coffee. But yeah, so I've got an image in here. If I go to image size, it's a 16K basically. It's a 16K image, very large. But I go for this because I want the quality of it. I want to be able to cram in as many details as possible. In many cases, this could be an overkill. So I wouldn't use this on a mobile game. I would definitely use it for things like cinematics, and even in games, 16K is probably way too much. Hey mate, hey man, how's it going? You okay? Glad to have you. So yeah, 16K is what I've got on this image. And I can then bring in these 2 images in here. So we've got 2 images, but none of them are upscaled. You can, they're not going to look very good. So that's why I first run them through gigapixels. So let me just find that. I'm going to delete this image. Can you delete it? Yeah, okay. So I've just deactivated that. I'm just going to drag those 2 images in here. And have I dragged it? This is so odd. I can't get rid of this image. Oh, there we go. The close without saving. Right, okay, now I've got it. So I'm just going to drag these 2 images in here. And it does it in sequence as well, by the way, so it's really fast. Have I... Oh, I think I haven't replaced one of the images. That's why it's still showing me the... Okay, that's fine. I've got 1 image, guys. I don't have 2. For now, I don't have 2 images, unfortunately. I've got a Christmas tree that I'm going to delete, and yeah. Okay, so the upscale, you can see how much detail it's adding in there that wasn't visible at this sort of zoom at 91%. And you can change the zoom, obviously. Let's do a 50%. And you can see how much sort of more detail it's adding, but it's also introducing things like noise and blur and stuff. So you can suppress the noise, or you can add the noise, by suppressing noise, by toning down the suppressed noise, you get more detail in. If you suppress it, you start to lose some of that. Although I'm not really sure. I think in this particular image, you can't really see. Okay, so I've just removed the blur there. This is very crispy now. I don't know how this will look like. You're going to have to experiment. I don't know how this will look like in your final scene when you're putting it into 3ds Max, Blender, or wherever you're going to use it. You can also go for auto. Let's see what it does. Yeah, I think that's what it thinks it should be doing. So let's go with that. And then we can save the image, and I am just going to save it at the source and press save. This will then process. It does take a bit of time depending on the resolution, but it's very performant. It does very well. I can do about 10, 15 images in less than 10 minutes, so it's pretty good. And the resolution is obviously very high. You can see what it's making it 6 times bigger. So it's taking it from 2080 by 2944 to 7680 by 17664. So that's a massive resolution. So maybe that's a bit of an overkill, but we'll just see. It's not yet finished, so you've got to wait for that to finish off. It does things in here that sounds very techy, but you know. Okay, so it's an 165 megabytes image now. It's quite large. I'm going to drag it in here in Photoshop. And I'm going to apply it. So if we zoom in, so we're now at 400% zoom in, and you can still make out the details. You're probably in a skybox, you're probably going to be at about 50% zoom. So if it looks okay at 50%, let me just go to about 50%. If you're okay at 50% zoom, if the details are quite nice at 50%, you'll be okay. But this is not the final sort of bit, because now what I want to do is I want to transform it and scale it down. So an element that was as big as the scene, I generally will put it down to around this point. Maybe like that. And I keep it as a smart object, so don't paint on it, because if you try to use a brush on it, it will then ask you, the smart object will be rasterized. If you do this, then when you scale up and down the element, it will lose its resolution because it's no longer a smart object. So if you keep it as a smart object, then your resolution is always going to be preserved at whatever scale you're sort of putting it at. And what I said to you guys is I generally create a new copy of it, and I add a mask. So that's the mask over there. And then with a brush, we paint with black and white. We can then start, taking some of those elements off. Let me just get my pen. So let me just deactivate that layer behind it. And then we can start painting away if we want to. Now, normally, I go with pretty big brush strokes, and, let's say I'll take all of this sort of element out, like that. Obviously, you always take the edges out. You don't want the edges to be shown. And this looks okay, because you feel like, okay, this is done now. You have no more edges, but that's not true. The background, I'll keep it black always, but I will also create a new background, which will be white. And the reason I do that is because this will show me clearly if there are still any edges left. So as you can see, there are. So you go in there and you paint them away. This is very important to do this. And now we have our sort of first element. This image doesn't have a lot of elements in it for us to work with, but what I can do, let me just grab other elements from a kit that I've made before. So I've got a folder with upscaled images, just so we can obviously speed this up a bit more and get to where we want. Okay, this folder is taking a while to open because there's quite a bit of stuff in here. Okay. Okay, so we've got the folder open. I've got these images in here, which are very slow to load because they are all like 160 megabytes in size. But these could be some really nice sort of templates to do more skyboxes. So if we bring this element in, for example, this is already upscaled, so it's fine. So we've got this swirling sort of texture. I can, play around with it, scale it down, maybe something like that. Maybe we'll do this as a center point. So if we look at these elements, moving them around, how would we blend these in? So do we do something like that as an example? We can then create a copy of it, hide the original one, add a mask, and start painting in. So first of all, take the edges off. Don't need the edges, definitely. Take those off like that. Deactivate the background, the white one, so it gives you a better sort of contrast. And now when you look at this, we can copy this again. We just scale it. Maybe add an element there. Apply it. Oh. And now I'm going to paint away the vortex, but I've added another element to it. So you can see we have this element here, sort of links to this. We can then paint a bit more in here of the first element. Maybe paint some more in here as well, but don't be careful obviously with the edge. So maybe do something like that. Now faint brush strokes will help to blend them a bit more. Maybe reposition it depending on where you want it to go. So I'm just going to paint away from here as well. Take some of that, take some of those borders, those darkened borders. Now this element from here is a bit big, so we may want to start trimming some of it down. By the way, one nice thing that I've got about brushes, so I don't need to use the keyboard all the time, is I've got this device called a surface, surface dial. So if I use this in here in Photoshop, you can see those elements showing up at the top. So for example, I could select the size and then just increase or decrease my brush by just rotating the dial. So that's pretty cool. So now I can go in here and remove these elements. Always use a smooth brush for this type of work. But again, this doesn't apply just to nebulas or space environments. You could do this for skies. You could do this for adding elements such as, I don't know, think about buildings in the distance. For example, I could select this element and move it. Actually, I don't think am I on the right layer? Yeah, I'm on the right layer. So I can just cut it out. That didn't work as intended. Yeah, now it should. I've got this element here that I can move around in another part. And maybe in here I can hide it completely. With this selected, again, add a mask. And do that. And you can add it, you can copy it again, put it in here as a sort of a bridge. Did I copy it? Yeah. We can put it in here as a bridge. This element is here. We'll put it like that. And that's just a little centerpiece there that we've made. So depending on how quickly you can move through this, it could take you, I don't know, half an hour, maybe more, maybe less. I think the first part of the scene, the first sort of the first skybox you make will probably take you the longest of that collection, because then the rest of them you just use the same elements over and over again. and just with different sort of changes. So you know, if we add more elements to this now, I'm thinking maybe add this, and then we'll scale it down. We'll put it underneath everything else. I'm not going to create a copy of it anymore because, again, this is just an example. Just going to use a mask instead. For some reason, it didn't create it. Okay, there we go. We got a mask. So now let me just go in here and get these edges off. And you can see that darkening of it is not amazing because it does sort of dirties the image as you do it. But it can be changed by going closer, switching to painting. You want to paint the texture back in. And then with smaller brush sizes, you know, you can go in there and change the change of it, you know, change the edges in a way to make it look a bit more. Where would you place them on an image so they will appear on top of the skyline? Exactly. Well, when you think about skyboxes, there's multiple types. There's like, it could be a cube, it could be a sphere, it could be half a sphere. But more importantly, it could just be a flat plane. So because you, Victor, you're making videos, as in cinematics and stuff, and not exactly a game, but even games, they do this all the time. They're like the billboards, right? They're like far distant landscapes. They're just flat planes that look very detailed. So a lot of games do this, but skyboxes or half spheres are probably the most common. It's difficult to set a building on a skybox that's a spherical shape to make it look good if you don't have, if you have to first build a prototype, well, a blocking of your project in a software like Blender. So let's say your end product is in Unreal Engine. I would create a set, a blockout set in Blender that sort of resembles the one in Unreal Engine, and just play in there because you have a lot more control over the scene, and then just see if a sphere object would work for what you're trying to achieve, or if it's better to just use a flat plane. Now, I can show you an example of what I've done in the past. Let me just go in here because I think that's really a good question. And again, in Unreal Engine, your landscape at 0, 0, 0 means that whatever on the sphere is above 0, 0, you know, the height axis, the z-axis, whatever's above 0 will be seen if the landscape is flat. Whatever's below that won't be seen. So just keep that in mind. This is why, again, you'd be using half spheres if you're trying to do just a landscape, and a skybox. But if you're doing like a space scene, then you need a full sphere. But in one of my videos, let's have a look. So I did a render a while back with some volumetrics, and I think, yeah, the alien world one, and I will show you where I've used a skybox with some geometry. So right there, that shape there in the background, that there is part of the skybox. But the way I've integrated it here, I hope so, at least that's how I see it. I don't know if other people see it that way. I have integrated in such a way so that it looks as if it's a geometrical shape that's in the scene. So I'm not sure if that looks like that or not. But that was the intention of it. So if you look, that there looks a bit like a cliff. So actually, I've got a lot of elements in front of it, but yeah, I think here you can see it a bit better. So let me just get away from this particular scene where I've got these volumetrics rotating around. But right here, all of that is part of the skybox. that there is part of the skybox. So everything that you're seeing in here is part of the skybox, apart from the things that are moving around the volumes, and obviously these mushrooms down here. So that's part of the skybox. Part of the skybox. You see what I mean? It's just multiple. It's like 2 or 3 layers of skyboxes in there that I've added in. I'm not sure if this is the best example, but it's something that, yeah, you know, your question reminded me of that. I don't know if I have another example in here that's obvious, but no, I don't think so. But yeah, I think buildings is it's a very big thing to do. So I definitely would. So I do think in your when I looked at your render when I did the feedback video, which by the way, guys, if you guys have any videos that you want some feedback on and you want me to put a YouTube video, I can do that. I'm happy to do it. So in your video, I think you would have had a big it would have been a big success for you to be able to do that. I think it would have had a big impact for you to be able to do something like that, to add billboards in the background with elements such as highly detailed mountains that are, you know, far more detailed than what Unreal can give you with the assets from the marketplace. You'd be amazed of how many elements in a scene are just simply matte painting. You know, that's I think that pretty much that's what the technique is called. So, you know, for example, what could stop me from, you know, in here, what could stop me from getting an element such as where is the profile? Close the profile. I think I may have closed the profile. Where is Discord? Right. So if I go to my feed again. Oh yeah, definitely would save you a lot of definitely would save you a lot of GPU doing this. Obviously textures take GPU as well, but the further the element is, if you put them on a plane rather than a skybox. So if you put the element on a plane, think about it this way, right? The element is on a plane, not on a skybox, and the plane can be put far behind and scaled up and down. Thus, resolution could be lower. So a 2K resolution at maybe 500 meters away might look really good. Obviously, up close it will look really bad. And you can also combine multiple planes, so like a triangular shape or something like that, to give you faces. So let's say it's a building. One face of the building can be on one side, another one on the other, and if you play nice with the normal maps and stuff like that for shadows, or paint the shadows in, yeah, that will be very convincing. So look at this element here. I believe I can just copy it, and then I should be able to just go in Photoshop and paste it. So I've just added an element in here, right? This is the skybox, this is the center line, so I could potentially just put it up here. Obviously I haven't scaled this with gigapixel or anything like that, but we should be okay for this particular example. If I stop the auto select and put it like that in there, and then I can select this new layer, create a mask. Very important that you guys use masks as much as possible. They are. I think for me, it's like they're like the bread and butter of Photoshop. So, and you can do this in other software as well. You don't. It's not just Photoshop that can do it. Okay, so I'm just trying to get rid of the borders there. I probably need to use a smaller brush to get rid of the borders. You know, I've added this element in here. Obviously, color-wise is not really making a lot of sense, but I could try and, you know, use a different sort of blending, but that won't work either. So you might just want to go into image and start adjusting its actual hue, saturation, and stuff like that to be able to get it to match with the environment. So but you'll have to play around quite a bit to get the right sort of, you know, the I guess the right hint. I don't know. We're just gonna go for something like that, right? So I've added this element in here, and let's say that's the centerpiece, right? And I'm going to build a lot of stuff around it. But nothing really stops me now from just generating a lot of content around this sort of shape and just bring in more elements to it, maybe create like a vortex that's just coming from there. And if you think about if this is high enough in the skybox or where it is right now, and the center point being, let me just put in the center point would be about here. This is, I think, yeah, I think I'm right when I say, yeah, probably around here will be the center point. So in that particular case, your camera could look upwards to this element, and if you generated enough elements around it, it could be, you know, something that's tunneling towards you, or you're tunneling towards it. So that could be an interesting sort of look, you know, to it. So that's kind of how these things work. And then for the black sort of nature of this skybox, that, you know, I like to keep things black. What you can do is you can start adding some maybe some very low defined textures to it. So I wouldn't use this for the background, because if you scale this up like that, you know, something like that, and then you're thinking, right, I'm going to use that as a background, you know, obviously you're going to have issues here at the poles because it's going to stretch around at the poles of the sphere, but also this is not going to look very good in contrast to this. This is very detailed, while this is going to look quite pixelated because of it. So you want to go for some low-key sort of stuff. One thing that I'm going to show you guys, which I think you're going to love, you're going to like, one way to create interesting backgrounds for skyboxes. Obviously, you need to buy this, but you can always use Space Engine. And I've made a video on using Space Engine for this. It's a marvelous tool. I think not enough people are using it, and they should. The community mods are incredible. But overall, Space Engine is just one of those applications where, you know, it's like plays like a game, or, you know, runs like a game, but it's not actually a game. It's a space exploration tool. And you can create backdrops in Space Engine that are cube map friendly. So what I mean by this is that they actually stretch as they should. So just give me a second. I'm just gonna try and open it here. I think it's starting to take a bit of a dip on my performance. Any of you guys use Space Engine before, or have you heard about it? So I don't know if you ever used it, or, you know, yeah. So the Space Engine thingy, I'm not sure, but I hope you guys can't hear the sound from it, because it's, you know, I don't want it to be getting in the way. But anyway, if I continue, I'm now in Space Engine, and I can move with the speed of speed of traversing galaxies, like that. Oh, you used it. Oh, nice. Oh yeah, yeah. Space Engine to merge with Unreal. That would be something, wouldn't it? Let me go. Yeah, yeah. It's very effective and very cheap in that regard. So let's just go to Sagittarius. Yeah, let's go to Sagittarius. By the way, Space Engine has the map of the entire universe, so you can go anywhere. And people find new things every day. It's things that not even the creator knew existed. Right, okay, so we are close to Sagittarius. And the performance is starting to tank a bit. Probably because I'm filming. So I'm not gonna get too close to the black hole because I think if I'm gonna get too close, I think the stream will just die or something. Okay, so in Space Engine, if you go over to the visual, I believe it was the display. Yeah, the display. You've got some options in here where it says fisheye. So if I click fisheye, it will change to a fisheye view. And then I've got a cylindrical, which is the skybox. And you can see how this creates the skybox background very easily. Now, one very cool thing about Space Engine is that you can disable stars. You can disable pretty much anything to be seen. So right now, nothing is visible, but I can bring in the stars again. I could also play with the mode. So for example, I could decrease the HDR brightness of it. So that looks a lot better. Now, if I want to make a screenshot right now, I think it's the F11 for screenshot. If you do it, it will generate a screenshot of what you're seeing on the screen, and it will use the resolution that you currently have your Space Engine set up. So this could be a problem if you want a 16K background, because how the hell are you going to use a 16K resolution? You could input it in here. You can type in the 16K resolution, but then you don't have a screen big enough to do that, to see it, so it will extend across multiple screens. There is in here, in the tools, there is an export skybox. Now, the export skybox, the one that they've got, which allows you to input the resolution that you want to export the skybox at, it only works in this particular cube map. Now, bear in mind, this is another type of cube map. It's not like the one that I've shown you guys in Photoshop, but this works as well if your cube map is actually a cube. So you can do that. So as you can see, it seamlessly transitions from left to front to right to back to down. And if you put it together, then you'll have a seamless transition everywhere. Okay. Now this is really cool because you can move through these elements. I mean, look how beautiful that is. Imagine making a video. You can make a 360 video with this. Okay, this is pretty cool. But yeah, that's how I generate some of my stuff for the background. I just go in Space Engine. But I don't use this. I use this method, and yeah, like I've said to you guys, I go into here and I input in the 16K resolution. The image becomes incredibly large. But all I needed is for a couple of seconds to press F11 to generate the image, because the image will look exactly like this, but just a 16K. So I don't know if I type in here 10,000. And in here by, I don't know, 4,000. This is a very weird number. But you can see I've pressed apply. And as you can see how big this is now. My mouse is moving very slowly. But it's now at that resolution. So I have no idea how I'm going to get back to my normal resolution. And let me just try. Okay, so now I'm back at, whatever, some more affordable resolution. I think that's pretty cool. You've also obviously got the rendering resolution, so you could put this at 4096, which again will make your performance tank. I think it already has. But the quality of the image will be very sharp. So that in combination with the total resolution could give you an incredibly sharp image. The environment, I believe the rendering resolution doesn't really matter in this particular case. It's the environment map resolution that matters. I believe that's the one that affects the background. So again, guys, coming back to that thing with the AI, people keep talking about AI cheating, all this sort of stuff. Honestly, guys, anything that you do in a digital environment is in some way, in one way or another, some form of cheating, I guess. But these are just tools. Just use them. use them and create good content. That's what people care about. They don't care about anything else. They just care about good content. Okay, so as a final thing to this, let me show you the star system LU7. Let me just activate all these elements. Now in here, you can press this button to show you the entire system that you're visiting. And then I'm going to show you guys this planet. By the way, I'm looking at creating something like this in the future for Unreal Engine. So a project where you have a star system and you can click a button where every planet aligns and you can see them all from, which one is sort of orbiting which one and look like this. I can't wait to get my head around that sort of particular thing. But you can select the planet. I've got the planet selected. I'm going to go back in normal view mode and I'm going to press go to object. So this will take me to that planet. I think, I think it will be very difficult. I think it will be difficult in the sense of I do have a project. So I do have a project where I've got the planets revolving around the sun, the moon revolving around the earth as the earth revolves around the sun. It's just simple rotation. There's no, it's not on, it's not undulated. It doesn't have an axis, an oval axis or anything. It's just simply rotating like that. It is difficult to make it with a click of a. Well, actually, it's not difficult. You just need the button that when you press it, it aligns everything to a point. That's what it does here. Basically, it just tells every one of these spheres to align at a certain coordinate, and that's it. And when you press the button again, it just reverts to what it was. It sounds difficult when you think about it, but I think when you start to do it, it's not going to be that difficult. But look how beautiful that looks. Now, into Cosmos United, in terms of how to install Space Engine mods, well, I don't know what to tell you, because what I do is I will go. Oh yeah, cheers! Yeah, thank you. I'll let you guys know when the project will be done for that. So for mods for Space Engine, I just go into well, what is it now? Just go into the workshop, I believe it's called. So just Space Engine. Yeah, Victor is right. Yeah. So in workshop, I just select one and just press subscribe. So I'm not sure. Yeah. So for example, if I want the Glia system, I just subscribe and then it automatically adds it in. So I'm not sure where the problem would be for you. They just all seem to work for me. So yeah, I'm not sure. Right. Okay. So this is a beautiful system, isn't it? Like if you look here, very detailed. What's interesting about Space Engine, guys, is also you can obviously you can land on it. So my performance is really tanking for some reason in it. I think it might be because I've changed that environment resolution there. I'm not really sure. But yeah, I'm really taking a bit of a hit now in performance, unfortunately. Anyway, so yeah, the nice thing about it is you can land on the planet, and there are mods out there that make some planets look very, very nice. Let me just decrease the brightness of this. Is a bit too bright. There we go. Oh, is that for the Vista? I've got something like that in one of my Unreal Engine scenes where you can see the ring like that. It's really cool. And then I've also got like this massive black hole near it as well. Yeah, okay, so I'm just gonna exit Space Engine. I think it's really lagging because of the stream as well, and because I've toyed around with the resolution quite a bit. Hi Sven, how's it going? Okay, now back in Photoshop. And this is another thing about working with very big textures in Photoshop, is that it affects your performance if you don't have a powerful enough rig. Now I'm running a 3070. It's not an amazing video card, but it's definitely does the job. And I've got like an i9 processor, quad core, and 32 gigabytes of RAM. So definitely not the most powerful of rigs, but I still get quite a lot of work done. Okay, so I think I've explained that quite a bit. I think going in here a bit more to talk about this. Yeah, the live stream will be on YouTube as well. I'm not sure. Oh yeah, Victor. Yeah, I bet you do. I'm not sure how you see. Oh, is that? Oh, okay. Yeah. There's a point in here where you can see who's in the chat. Because I wanted to do something like, as I said to you guys, I'm going to do like this giveaway in this, and hopefully for the future sort of times when people will join live streams and stuff like that for these giveaways, I'll be doing this more often. Hopefully I can get to do like a stream every week, or maybe twice a month or something like that, and then just give some of these projects out to people. Like I've said to you guys in the announcement of it, is whoever's in the chat has a chance of winning all the projects. I feel like, I mean, my purpose has always been to sort of give these projects out to people. I think that they're reasonably priced for that, and I do give people projects whenever they come up with people will contact me directly on Discord, and will come up with an idea, will come up with some things that they've done in the past, or they'll give me some tips on something, and then I just reward them with projects that whatever they want to pick. So hopefully that's good. Now, what sort of let me know if you guys have any questions on this. Like, do you understand what I've done here so far, or are we, is this something that you might need to know? Because I'm sure not everybody's going to jump the sort of ship and go and get Midjourney, for example. But I am going to say this to you guys. This is making money for me. Like, using Midjourney, using what I've just shown you here, I can create skyboxes and I can put them on and sell them. So I think that's important for you guys to know. So then whenever when I create a skybox collection and stuff, I do put them online, and I do sell them to people. Obviously low amounts, but it can build up over time. So if anybody's interested in using Midjourney for this, you could have a go. And I know a lot of people are asking the question, how can I make money with AI and stuff like that? And that's one of the ways. So yeah, but for people who how do you create large resolution terrain meshes in Unreal, like huge meshes? So what you're saying is, what, the resolution to be very, very high resolution, or just overall? Because the mega scans ones, like for example in the Valley of the Ancient, a lot of those assets were just spliced together. So you have like combination. Yeah, so the huge cliff there is made out of multiple, like a lot of different meshes put together. Well, have you ever tried to create your own level blueprint? Not level blueprint, sorry, like your own custom blueprint that has got all these meshes in. Did you ever try it, or you don't know how to do it? Yeah, so I think the important thing there is the material. The material that you're using for those meshes, I mean, you've got the geometry, obviously, which, depending on how smooth that looks or how many bevels, let's say, on every edge you've got, it makes it look a lot more convincing, because real life is all about different types of shapes blended together that don't have any hard edges. A lot of the scenes, a lot of the renders that people do, and I've seen this in your video as well, Victor, where you have the where you're showing your what do you call it, the ships. And in some cases, the ships don't look as amazing as they could because the edges on some of the elements are, how should I say, very sharp. And that's not because of you, that's just how they were made. But in real life, every shape is quite beveled. So have a look at doing something like that, even for these nanite meshes. Have a look at, to make them more convincing. You just have to have nice, smooth faces, and they just can't abruptly end. And you can't have these triangular sort of shapes where things point out, because they'll look quite odd. That's why shapes such as circular, spherical shapes are better. So I would use that. And in terms of the material, you want to have a material that is able to pan across the entire mesh. So let's say you have a cliff that repeats itself in multiple places. You want to have a texture that's able to use the world position to sort of to project itself on the meshes in such a way that when you put them together, one near the other, the material blends between the two. Because, as I've said, the material just sort of it's in world position, so it's not attached to that mesh in that particular way. Just sort of, as long as the UV unwrap of the mesh is done, cohesively between all of them, then the material just blends across. Now I have this in one of my projects, the asteroid project. I've done this where I have a texture that's sort of it's triplanar and it merges across all the asteroids in the same way. So if you put an asteroid near another one, the texture will just blend between the two of them. So it'll be like a seamless, nice transition. The only downside to that is if you start moving the mesh around, the material updates in real time. So it updates in the sense of the texture changes on the asteroid constantly as it moves, because it just moves through the UV coordinate of the texture. So yeah, it's not very useful if your meshes are moving. But I would say, yeah, that to make them look like the mega scans. If you look at the material from the Valley of the Ancient one, you'll notice they have an entire setup there to make these seamless textures blend with each other, and they're using like a world position offset to, I think I'm saying that right, world position offset. I'm not sure if I'm making sense right now, but it's like texture is based on the location of the mesh rather than just statically applied to the mesh. If I'm making sense. If not, I'll do a video in the future, like a tutorial in which I explain this. It's a very interesting technique. I think there's a video online right now on YouTube that explains this, where a guy makes a cave. Well, for geometry, I would definitely use ZBrush. Texture creating in Substance Painter, for example, is probably one of the most advanced. Mari is very good as well, but very expensive, and I think it's just overkill. So one thing that you could do with Substance Painter, though, is you can create deformed meshes. So you could take Substance Painter, take a flat plane in it, and then use a texture on it, and use displacement to displace the geometry to make it look very, very cool. And then you can import that in Unreal Engine as a nanite mesh. So it's got the geometry detail, but it's also got a texture applied to it at the same time. So that could be quite interesting. Repetition, it's all about breaking the repetition. Nanite gives us the option to break the repetition of the texture by allowing us to have a lot more geometry that hides the repetition now, with shadows and occlusion and so on. So that's the key. So you have to keep your materials as simple as possible, not a lot of features on them. If those features were geometrically driven, Right. So, in terms of people who, as I said, don't want to go down the Midjourney way, I would still recommend you go and get Gigapixel, because I think that's a tool that every 3D artist should have in its toolkit, or something that upscales images and textures. That will help a lot. But if you're not doing that, then, as I said, just go with Blender for something like this. You know, like the geometry node is quite complex on, I mean, I wouldn't say it's very, very complex, but this is kind of the geometry node. I do offer this on, there's a YouTube tutorial that I have on this, which explains how you can create this material, actually a more complex one than this. But you can also, you can ask me on Discord for it and I'll give it to you. Yes, Gigapixel is working for video as well. There is a Gigapixel version for the videos. So if you were going to buy any of those, try the video one is good, and Gigapixel for images is good as well. I wouldn't go and get any other product from them apart from those two, because I think they just do it all. And Victor, yeah, in terms of the planet, the collapse, the planet project. Hashtag ad, yeah. No, seriously, it's a good software. I always like to push people, for good software. So definitely, I'm actually thinking of creating a workflow YouTube tutorial soon, in which I talk about my YouTube setup and also the tools and software that I use to get my work done, and how I get tutorials done, and how I collect references, and how I stack them and sort them and use them. So yeah, stay tuned for that. It's going to be it's not going to be an ad in the sense of I'm not going to be sponsored by anybody, but I am going to talk about what sort of, how I put tools together, and what I use and what do I get them from. Like this Surface Dial thing. I don't even think they keep producing these anymore. But honestly, this is a pretty cool feature to have when you're using a tablet to draw on, and you want some more shortcuts like zooms and brushes and stuff. I don't like using the keyboard as much, because the keyboard is very fixated. This, if I spin it fast enough, I will get a far better scroll than if I'm using, well, mouse wheel does pretty good, but I've got my pen in my right hand, so I don't have my hand on the mouse, you see? So I can use this to scroll. Anyway, enough of that. But yeah, so this project, as I said, just hit me up on Discord and I'll provide it to you and you'll be able to do it. It's the same sort of concept, generate images. In this particular case, this project has a setup in here where you can see it's got these cameras. So if we move through the cameras, let me just go into the camera mode and I will go to a square vision. So let's say 40... 096. So this is going to be a square render. So what I do is, this is the camera looking upward, camera looking down, front, back, left, right. Well, that's about it, really. Now, in terms of the setup, see, I can move this. So effectively, let me just get another viewport in here. I can move this inside the sphere like that, the sphere containing the volumetric, and then I can change the cameras. This is what the up camera will show me, and this is what the down, the front, back, left, and right. So this is how you can generate the same kind of stuff that you're generating in Midjourney. But this is done in Blender, and it's specific to the shader that you're using for these volumetrics. And obviously there's a quality, there's a resolution, and percentage of the resolution. There's the quality of the volumetric. The more you crank up these numbers, the more the performance will take a hit, but also the render time will take longer, but you'll get a far better result. You've got options like, where does the volumetric start? Where does it end? So, for example, you could switch down the end to make it only go a bit ahead, like 0.7 meters. Yeah, I'm on the volumetric nebula. I'm still going through that, in the sense of I'm trying to put into a tutorial, but it's the same thing as I'll show you guys in just a second. On our station. Showing what? I'm not sure why the internet is so slow today. Yeah, so on our station where I have this project, the this one here. So this one is volumetric as well. All of this. And then also this is volumetric as well. Now I'm having the same sort of challenge with the other one as I have with this one in terms of tutorials. It's very long, very complex. There's a lot of information that I got from multiple sources, from other people, from other tutorials that I've learned and put them into action in here. And segregating that into information that I can give to you guys without me looking like an idiot while trying to explain it is proving to be very difficult. And what I mean by this is, like, whenever I put a tutorial together, you might be thinking, oh, this guy really knows what he's talking about. Look at him. He's doing it. He's just getting stuff done and we're learning. But that takes a lot of preparation to do. And a lot of times when I just work on my own projects, I probably spend 2 or 3 days on it of just randomly, aimlessly looking for multiple, dozens of pages of information of trying to work out, for example, in this particular case, how do you blend, how do you make this jet coming out of the center without it being occluded by the volumetric, which is actually... Yeah, exactly, yeah. So my first iteration of this, you could either see, so these are 2 volumetrics, you could either see the volumetric at the edge, but not see the one in the center, or could see the one in the center, but couldn't see the one at the edge. And until I realized that I had to disable the depth test in Unreal Engine for both of these, and then use the depth test to be able to make them show together at the same time, and that worked, but then they were overlapping, and then both of them were losing their intensity. So whichever had the higher intensity was the one showing, and the other one wasn't. And then I sort of stopped with the depth test and instead created them into post-process materials. So they're now post-process materials rather than actual volumetric. Well, they are volumetrics, but they are fed through as a post-process material. How long have I worked with game engines? I'm not sure, to be honest. Probably about 2 years or something like that, because before I was doing 3ds Max and I was doing Maya and ZBrush, and I wasn't doing anything related to real-time engines. It was just offline renders, really, and me learning the ropes of it. But yeah, Unreal Engine I started at the end of last year, but the Eevee I've been doing it for about 2 years. And moving from Eevee to Unreal Engine was quite a seamless transition for me, because a lot of it is the same. You just have to know it. And by the way, guys, a big recommendation for you to learn stuff: HLSL codes. Just use Shader Toy. Just go on Shader Toy and look at how these guys create these things. I think you might be able to use an AI now to create a Shader Toy shader by just using, what's that AI called that can write stuff and can also make computer programs. You could have a look at that and use that for your work. Yeah, ChatGPT should be able to write a Shader Toy thing. I haven't tried it yet. I'm really curious. How would it be? And well, I believe NVIDIA is already doing that. Just have a look. I'm pretty sure. Polycam AI. No, I've not. No, I'll have a look. I've no idea what that is. Polycam AI. But I'm pretty sure NVIDIA is doing this now, where they are generating 3D meshes with AI. Oh, okay. 3D capture for everyone. Yeah, and that with the advent of Nanite, that would be pretty cool. By the way, guys, I'm not doing not doing any of this stuff to make games, to be honest. All the stuff that is all about doing things like games. It's not me, like flying a spaceship. It's not because I want to make games. It's more because I know a lot of people want to see that, how do you fly a ship in space, but also because I'm going to mount a camera on my spaceship while I use physical based navigations to fly the ship when I film it in my movie. Because animating with sequencer or something like that is very, I don't know, not rudimentary. It's very rough, in my opinion. But using something like a controller and just flying the ship and then adding some camera shakes and stuff, I think for me that really worked very well. Anyway, so Nanite and Lumen, but especially Nanite, was for me the point that made me jump ship and use Unreal Engine, because I am looking for ways to create stuff that is how should I say, accessible to the indie user, to the freelancer. So I don't want to go through massive iterations of perfecting a mesh to the point where that mesh is completely ready for real time, so it can be used perfectly in a game. I don't care about that, because I am a one-man army. I am not what do you call it? Not a studio. I don't have a studio. I have 10, 15 people, 20 people, 50 people working for me. So I cannot make every mesh in my environments be completely optimized for a game. I don't want that. Yeah, Victor, I said that didn't I say that in the feedback? Just put your camera on the ship. Just attach it to the ship. You can record as you fly through in real time, but just put in my opinion, you should have attached the camera to the ship when you were doing all those sudden movements of between the cliffs and stuff, and just make it into one of those, like in a car police chase thingy, where you've got that. I think it can work. Just have a look. You'll be able to find it, and even the cockpits for the camera, that would work. But I would just do a camera attached to the ship in an angle and in a place that it's so weird. By the way, I'm not weird, but it just gives some really cool sort of viewing angles. This is actually something that I'm working on now. I'm splicing a lot of stuff together, multiple kits, multiple assets, to create a ship for my new flight system. It's gonna have a landing operation. It's gonna have like wheels or stuff coming down so the ship can land. It's gonna hopefully be able to shoot stuff through it. I don't know about the face of it. I don't know what to say. It looks a bit like a face. But yeah, I'm thinking turrets here, maybe. I don't know as of yet. This back plate here, which for some reason can't select. Can't I select it? Is everything in here unselectable or something? No idea. For some reason, it won't let me select anything. What the hell? Oh, I'm in edit mode, that's why. Oh, I'm an idiot. Right, so if I select this point here, basically I would like it to, when it goes down, depending on, I want it to close like this. Do you see that? So you close it like this and it goes like a bullet. You know what I mean? And then it can go up like that. This can sort of go up like that, depending on what the axis is showing. So whatever the axis is doing at that point. And then these wings, I don't know yet. I might have them sort of go flap like that or downwards. I'm not sure yet. The entrance, I'm still working on the entrance. I don't know what I'm going to use as a platform here as of yet. I haven't integrated a door because the way I want this to work, which by the way, this is an amazing thing about Blender, that you can actually walk in this. Well, let me just create a plane that. Yeah, like that. So walk navigation, tab to go into. Oh, this is not good, guys. Honestly, look at that. How the hell am I gonna go in there? um, let me just put this up, maybe like that. Okay, so walking fell over. I fell under the map. It's fine. Walking, all right. So you go to the ship. I want this to happen in Unreal Engine. You go to the ship. You go to the platform here, which I want to make it something like it just sort of goes down, and you go up in here and you can open the door right here. The door opens, you go inside, and only here. Oh, I've got to work out the collisions. So only when you're in here, you can actually press a button to enter the ship, and you can change between front, cockpit view and also ship view. That's the plan. That's hopefully something that I can do. So let's see what Victor has said. How do you do TAA, 16 spatial, 16 temporal, subsample, blur, and variable FOV in a live action? So there's a button. I can't remember what it was called now. You're gonna just have to. You're gonna have to look online what it's called. But there is well, it's actually a lot of this stuff is inspired by Star Citizen. Look for the what's it called now? Mustang. Look for the Mustang ship. That's what I took. I've got a lot of reference on it. So I've modeled a lot of the stuff in here, but I've also got like there's a kit on Gumroad, like a ship kit on Gumroad where there's a lot of stuff in here that will show up. There's a lot of stuff in here that you can get directly done from there. And kit ops. There's a lot of stuff in kit ops as well that you can use. So I've got loads of kit ops meshes, so I can just add them in. So so Victor, so I was saying, so there's an option on YouTube. There's an option in Unreal Engine that you can find probably on YouTube or on Google. Just search for it. You can sequence a fly that you're doing in as you play. So you go in play mode, you do your animation, and then you stop it, and then we'll record that, and then you'll be able to play it and render. You'll be able to render the flight path that you've done. So just have a look. I can't remember what it was called, but definitely you can do that. Yeah. So then you can add all the stuff that you said in there. And 16 spatial and 16 temporal subsamples. Man, I don't know about you, but I go for 64. I go for 64 most of the time. Oh yeah. I get what you're saying with the front face here. Yeah, we'll see how that turns out. Yeah. But yeah, still loads of work to be done. So yeah, it's about this ship here. I've got another ship that's in the pipeline. But I don't know where it is. I can't remember, but I've got like a hero ship for one of my CGI movies that I want to make, which it's gonna be like an interior space to live in. So you're gonna have sofas, TV, and all sorts of things in there, screens and stuff, and like even a vehicle inside, a toilet, so you can actually go to the toilet. And it's gonna be like a modular sort of thing. I'm also creating a space station modular kit as well, where you can combine different elements into one. Oh, I'm doing 64 with 3070, so don't worry. But I'll keep it for 10 minutes of footage. You'll probably run all night. But for things like that render that I showed you guys, this one here, no temporal sampling whatsoever. You don't need anything for that. Volumetrics, I haven't seen any difference between 8, 16, 64. Same sort of effect comes out. But yeah, you guys have any other questions about this stuff, about the skyboxes and stuff? Because hopefully I've covered what I needed to cover in it. So you got any more questions? If not, we can go on to do the giveaway thingy. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, to be honest, I haven't. I need to do some some cleanup on the PC. I've got one of those canisters, oxygen canisters. I need to blow it out. We'll need to blow out all the air from it. To be honest, it's like one of those things. Let me see if I can show it. Oh, I think I've messed up, guys. I've disconnected the camera. Oh, 1 second. I should be able to bring it back on. Oh no. Yeah, I don't know if you guys can see it. Can you see? You should be able to see the camera again. Yes. So that's the computer there. It was right before it was right before the lockdown ended and video cards started to pop up again in what do you call it in the stores. So I just got this. It came with a 3070 and all that, so it's not custom built, unfortunately, but it was the only thing that I could get at the time. Only thing that I could really get at the time. It was, it is what it is. Yeah, rip camera. Yeah, definitely. So yeah, I'll definitely be doing another live stream, maybe next weekend, or if not the weekend after. I'll think of a topic, but just let me know in Discord if you guys want to see something specifically. We can talk about that, or we could just have a live stream where we just talk about things, and you guys can ask me questions, and hopefully I'll be able to answer. Whatever I don't have an answer for, I'll just say pass, because I don't know everything, and a lot of the stuff that I do seem to know is stuff that I've got in front of me. So imagine like I've got like a manual in front of me and I'm talking from the manual, because you can't. This is why I made this YouTube channel to begin with. I am preserving my knowledge in YouTube videos. You guys have no idea how many times I open an old YouTube video of mine to remember something that is very relevant at that time. So yeah, let's do the giveaway, guys. Actually, let me just see. Oh yeah, okay, yeah, let's do the giveaway. So, do you guys think the best way here would be everybody writes a number between, let's say, 1 to 50 or something like that, and I'll do like a random number generator thing between 1 to 50, and the closest person to that number will win. What do you guys think? Does that sound all right? Or Cosmos United is 33. Okay, just put in the numbers, guys, and hopefully the gods of Google will the number generator from Google or whatever will be in your favor. We'll just wait to see if everybody. I have no clue how you can see all the participants in the stream. It just says in there 9 people are watching or something like that. Hopefully next time we'll have double that number, and then the next time double that number. That will be the sweet, as a good sort of. So I'm looking at participants. Okay, so in terms of the 51 for Victor, that's not gonna. How is that gonna work? Well, you think if you get 50, if you get 45, something up near 50? Yeah, I guess it does work. Yeah. Yeah, so I clicked at the participants, but there seems to be more people in the chat, or at least earlier it was like that, than what this was showing. But anyway, hopefully everybody has put in the number. If you have, then that's great. I'm just going to do the roll. Okay. So we've got everybody. So I'll just press the generate between 1 to 50. Again, if you put 51, 52, it doesn't matter if it's close to that. I'm pressing it, guys. Let's see who wins. And it's number 19. Okay. Oh, Cinnabon. Am I saying that right? Cinnabon on the dot. 19. Well, congratulations. I didn't think that would just literally be that number. Wow, congratulations, man. Honestly. Yeah, good for you. Good for you, man. Just let me know if you need any help with the projects. I will be I just need you to I don't know if I believe you're already on Discord, aren't you? Just go on Discord and I'll just DM me or I'll DM you and I'll share with you the links to the projects and then you'll be able to okay, that's good. Yeah, it's good you're on Discord. Yeah, that's fine. Just message me. Just message me on Discord, and I'll send you the links. Now, guys, I just a quick one before you guys go. I mean, we can continue talking if you want, but if not, just a quick one. What do you guys think of this stream then, in terms of sound quality, video quality, latency? Are we okay with this, with these settings? Okay. Okay. That's what I like to hear. I wanted to I just wanted to look if it's good because I mean I've been struggling with the internet for a while recently, but it's hopefully now resolved. So yeah, yeah. Oh, and look at that, we're 10 subscribers away from reaching 5,000 subscribers. And this is the estimated, you can see in there, the estimated revenue of YouTube in January, well, sorry, in December, January, for this particular sort of channel. So if any of you ever want to make a YouTube channel, just think about, this is kind of the metrics. I'll probably make a dedicated video on this as well in the future because I've struggled a lot to get monetized to start off with. And now that I have, I think I've made about £500 so far. Yeah, it's good. It's good that there was no lag and the quality was really good. Yeah, so again, if you guys want tutorials specifically about something, let me know. I have asked in a video recently, I have asked between a skybox generated in Substance Designer. What was it now? Let me just see. What do you want to see next? Yeah, so it was either in Substance Designer or nanite meshes, how to animate nanite meshes. And it's, in here, I think I've got animated nanite meshes higher than anything else. If you guys are still happy with that, if you guys want to see animated nanite meshes, let's, I'll do that. If not, I'll do the skybox in Substance Designer, which is an interesting procedural way of creating skyboxes. And I'm also soon, let me just show you. I am probably going to be doing a review on Substance Modeler in VR. I've got this MetaQuest VR kit here. Some of you guys probably have seen my video in which I go and work out in my backyard in lovely UK weather. Yeah, I'll be doing a review on that if people are interested in that. I've been using it a bit, but yeah, it's a bit of an awkward an awkward sort of setup, but overall I think it works. Yeah, I mean, for Substance I pay what do I pay now? 15-16 pounds a month, I believe, to be able to use Substance Painter and Designer. And I think there's also Alchemist, which has been rebranded to something else, but it's still the same software. Alchemist is pretty cool, to be fair. And Painter obviously is really good, but yeah, I can understand why people would find it to be expensive, especially after the merger after they've been acquired by Adobe. Another thing that I'm thinking of buying is World Creator. So it looks really good. I'm pretty sure I'm gonna be getting this in the future. I find it to be fantastic, and it's not very expensive. And look at the quality of these assets. Obviously, texture is something else, but oh, you got World Creator, nice. So, what version have you got? The latest version? Does it does it actually give you textures as well, or is it just the geometry? Yeah, I haven't used any. I haven't used any of these. I haven't used any of these softwares before. Yeah, so I do have a few auto materials myself. Which, by the way, Victor, I don't know if you've used auto materials in your project or not, but they are incredible if you have a very well generated terrain like the one you're seeing right now. And I've got a few. I've got auto materials for a forest. I've got one for mountains. I've got one for an alien planet. I generally, and I've got things like blowing sand normals through the auto material as well. So, for example, if I have like a desert scene, I've got sand that can sort of is animated on it. And oh, by the way, one thing that I like to combine things like auto materials and also landscapes, I like to combine them with parallax occlusion mapping textures. So I'll show you guys one here. And I don't know if you guys know that this is made with parallax. I'm gonna have a tutorial on this. I think it's incredible, and I think not enough people are using it. Let me just find the video. Where the hell? I think I may have skipped it. Oh, that's weird, Victor. I didn't think that would be that much. I'm sure I'm only paying like £19 for it. Where I'm trying to find this video. 1 second. Oh yeah, there we go. Believe it was this video, but let's see if it's visible in this video. What does Damien says? I just use the landscape alpha brushes used to use Gaia. It's easier unless you want to add water. Yeah, you guys have some interesting ideas. So look, right here, I don't know if you're seeing this. Right here in this render, which by the way isn't my best render, I have messed up this render by switching over from Adobe Premiere to DaVinci. And I didn't realize that in DaVinci some settings weren't quite straightforward, so the bitrate on this video just wasn't good enough. It was something like 10 when it should have been 40 to be able to see the quality of it. But right here, you see this on the left side, guys. You see these dunes right here, left side? These dunes, they're not geometry. They're just flat planes with parallax occlusion mapping. But look at the quality of that. It's literally occluding. See? It's occluding everything. I'm going to make a tutorial on this, but it's such a cheap way of adding geometry to your scene that the texture is actually quite it's incredible. The texture is just a 4K texture, I believe. Substance 3D. Well, 1 second. I'll hopefully I'll be able to log in. Give me a second. I should be able to log in into this account. Hopefully this is the one where I've got. Yeah, look at how many credits I've got. I never really get any textures from it. But where was the surface? And it was it stone? No, it was sand. Yeah, it's something from here. I can't remember which one. I'm sure I'll remember it if I see it. I think they've added quite a little bit, some stuff I believe I combined, yeah, between this, I believe, and this. I can't remember. But I combined two textures, square textures, and they are just a plane. And the plane has just got that texture, and it's just using parallax occlusion mapping with some really, a lot of steps to make it look quite nice. And yeah, and you get that. And I've got some sand blowing on it as well. It's like because the sand on a parallax occlusion mapped texture. So I've got a normal that drives some sort of traces, right, on the surface. But because the surface is parallax occlusion mapped, okay, I've got a video actually. I've got a video, I remember now. I've got a render where you can see that quite well. Let me just find it very quickly. And that will be the last of it, guys. I'm going to show you that, and I'm going to go and I've got my wife wants to take me out for some coffee. Look, this is the video. I remember now. This is an older video. Look right there. That's it. That's the texture. You see it? That texture there is just occlusion mapping. There's nothing. There's no geometry there. And when do I get to a point where this sort of sand blowing? No. Where is the one with the sand blowing? There was sandstorm test sequence. Yeah, this is the one. And I think Victor, you had your thing, didn't you? You had in your render you had this. So if you look here, you've got this sand blowing. I think you can see it. Because it's parallax occlusion mapping, obviously the camera is a bit too close now, so you can see the striations. But because it's doing that, you can see these waves right about here. Because it's occlusion, because it's a parallax, it almost looks as if it goes up, so it detaches itself from the surface. So you can see it right there. I don't know if you're noticing it because I've got this sort of stuff at the front, but you can see that pushing forward through these dunes. So hopefully that's useful information, but I will be doing a tutorial on that probably in the next month or so about the occlusion mapping of sand. Yeah, thank you, Mathis. Thank you for joining. Thank you all of you guys for joining. So yeah, hope you guys learned something, and I'll see you in the next tutorial and the next stream. Thank you and congratulations to Cinnabon for winning all the projects. Cheers, bye. Bye.